A very good afternoon to you. Goeiemiddag. 20 February. I will do this in English. I would like to entitle this short discussion, A Plea to Stay, to Build and to Lead. As a colored African, born and raised in this land, I speak to you not as an outsider, but as a brother, a fellow African and a witness to our shared history. I've worked for decades alongside my white African brothers and sisters, and I know the depth of your contribution, your resilience, and the love that you carry for this land. I appeal to you, Afrikaners, have a higher calling to stay and to rebuild. I want to repeat that. You have a higher calling to stay and to rebuild. South Africa is at a turning point, and many Afrikaners facing economic uncertainty, security concerns, and shifting political landscapes are contemplating leaving the land their ancestors built. Some have already sought refuge elsewhere, fearing a future where they feel unwelcome. But is leaving the right answer? Or is there a greater calling? A mandate to stay, to rebuild, and to be part of a shaping South African future. Afrikaners have invested generations into this land, and as the political and economic tides shift, those who endure will have a say in what comes next. South Africa's soil is intertwined with your blood, your sweat, and your dreams, just as it is for all who call this continent home. I know the fears, I know the frustrations, and the heartbreak that many of you feel. The challenges are real, but so is the higher calling upon you to stay, to rebuild, to lead from where you are, and to ensure that the future of this land is shaped by those who truly love it. I plead with you, do not become exiles in a foreign land. Do not abandon your Zion. Instead, stand firm, knowing that change will come, that history moves in cycles, and that those who endure may one day lead. South Africa needs you. Africa needs you. Please stay, build, and lead. I want to remind you that South Africa is also your home, and that your role is not just political, but spiritual, restoring broken bridges between communities. The Bible emphasizes in Jeremiah 29 verse 7, "Seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile, and pray to the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare." Genesis 26, Isaac stayed in the land despite famine and opposition, and yet he prospered. Afrikaners should consider their role as stewards of the land. White Afrikaners have a spiritual connection to the African soil. This speaks to your deep-rooted history, identity, and calling in Africa. Many white Africans, especially Afrikaners, have generations of ancestors buried in this land, have toiled its fields, and have built their lives upon it. This connection is not just historical or economic, it is spiritual. You are not merely residents of Africa, you are woven into its very fabric. Your ancestors, your heritage, and your very identity are tied to the soil, not as foreigners, but as sons and daughters of Africa. This land is not just where you live, it lives in you. Your connection to Africa is spiritual, deep and undeniable. To leave is to sever a bond that God Himself has allowed to form over generations. Africa is not just your birthplace, it is a part of your destiny, a part of your birthright. Now, here are a few biblical references that affirm the spiritual connection to this land and the idea that God plants people in specific places for a purpose. Acts chapter 17:26. God determines our dwelling places. From one man he made all the nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. This verse affirms that God determines where people should live. White Africans were not placed in Africa by accident. They are part of God's design for this land. I already gave Jeremiah 29 verse 7. Seek the peace of the land where you dwell. When it prospers, you will also prosper. Though this was written for exiled Israelites, the principle applies. When you invest in the land where you live, its prosperity becomes your own. White Africans are called to pray, to build and contribute to Africa's future, not abandon it. Genesis 26 verse 2 and 3. God's instruction to Isaac to stay in the land. God said to him, do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you, and I will bless you. Self-explanatory. When Isaac was tempted to leave due to hardship, God told him to stay, and he would bless him. White Africans facing difficulties should trust that remaining in Africa will ultimately lead to blessing and to restoration. Psalm 37, trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. This verse speaks of faithfulness to the land God has given. White Africans are called to trust God, do good, and remain faithful to Africa. So running away won't solve the deeper issues. Staying and engaging will. And I have faith in you. I have faith in your abilities to engage. I know you. I have faith in you to find solutions. 'n boer maak 'n plan. I have worked with you for decades. We speak the same language. We dress the same. We worship the same God. Psalm 137 reflects the deep sorrow of the Israelites in Babylonian exile, longing for their homeland. Their captors demanded they sing the songs of Zion, but they mourned, saying, how shall we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land? Do you remember by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion? I encourage you, stay in South Africa rather than to leave. Now, drawing parallels between the exiled Israelites and you, my Afrikaner friends, Israel felt displaced in their own land. I wish you to put this in my own way. South Africa is your Zion. You, my white African friends, are not in exile. This is your home. Unlike the Israelites in Babylon, in this context, you are not captives in a foreign land. South Africa is your Zion, your inheritance. It's your legacy. Now, the enemy wanted the Israelites to sing their songs in foreign captivity. But Afrikaners still have the freedom to shape their future in South Africa, to sing your own songs in your own country. Instead of weeping for what was lost, Afrikaners must compose a new song, a song of restoration, of resilience and hope. We have a rich culture when it comes to music. Afrikaners is plesierig. Your future is not in mourning the past, but in planting the seeds of a new South African story. The Israelites eventually returned to rebuild Jerusalem. Afrikaners can either abandon their Zion or stay and prepare for the day when political tides shift. Those who stay and build may one day lead. Do not flee in fear. Stay, build, and prepare for the day when South Africa needs you again. Now is not the time to abandon that legacy. Staying is not about ignoring challenges. It's about embracing a calling to contribute, to build, and to lead in difficult times. I'm proud of South Africa. South Africa is a history of producing world-class talent by highlighting Afrikaners and other South Africans who have made a global impact across various fields. This strengthens the argument that the soil of Africa has nurtured excellence, and Afrikaners should not see themselves as outsiders, but as integral to Africa's future. I still dream of a rainbow nation. Examples of world-class talent from South Africa is, example, Elon Musk. Born in Pretoria, he became one of the most influential entrepreneurs in history, revolutionizing space exploration. Johan Rupert, a global business magnate. Charlize Theron, internationally acclaimed actress and philanthropist. Mark Shuttleworth, first African in space. Trevor Noah, global media personality. I have faith in you. I ask you to stay and let us rebuild the land. South Africa needs you. God bless you.